All right, welcome everybody to the Radical Results Mastermind for Tuesday, May 1st. I am going to go ahead and skip the introduction that I normally give because I've got so much to share with you on this call today. This month's topic is on big revenue launches, and so we're going to really just jump right in. So you've probably heard of a product launch. Maybe you've seen some people do a product launch. Maybe you've been part of a product launch or even run your own. There's sort of like a super joint venture where you have lots of people who are really telling their audience about you and about your launch and driving their list over into your world. Now, I've helped several leaders with their 6- and 7-figure launches. So I've been behind the scenes of a lot of launches, and I've seen things go really, really well, and I've seen things I've seen a lot of problems too. So I have learned a lot from being behind the scenes with some pretty big players, and I'm of course here to use that experience to help you. So think of a launch as a coordinated promotion of your product or program. All right, so you got to have something to sell, and you've got all these people telling their list to go check it out. The secret to a successful launch, the number one secret, is to plan your launch far in advance. I've seen a lot of people try to plan a launch within a month, and they ask JV partners to help them, and the JV partners have no room on their promotional calendars. Somebody who does a really excellent job of this is Gina Gabellini. She plans her launches about a year in advance, and I think that is so smart. So the secret here is plan your launch far in advance to make it easy for people to promote you and also to motivate partners to mail for you. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but the longer out you plan, the easier it is to get partners on board. I'm going to try to make some time at the end of this call for takeaways and Q&As. We'll set aside about 15 minutes for that, but let's go ahead and jump into big revenue launches. All right, so as far as what we're going to cover over the next 3 calls, we're going to cover the what, why, and how of launches. And by the way, if you're ever teaching a course or a product, that's what you want to focus on oftentimes is the, what people are learning, why it's important, and how to do it. So that's what we're going to cover here is the what, why, and how. And so you'll get the basics of what a launch is, why they're so profitable, and how they work. On today's call, we're going to focus on before you launch. And this is really, really critical. In fact, I would say it's the most important part of a launch. So before you launch, we'll talk about how to prepare and really get ready to have your 6- or 7-figure launch. And if you have a 5-figure launch, that's okay too. Some of the quote-unquote big players have a 4- or 5-figure launch to start off with, and then they grow to 6 and grow to 7 figures. So we'll talk about before your launch on this call. This call might carry over to next week. I'm not sure. There's a lot to cover. That's why we skipped the introduction earlier. So on our second call, or at least the second module of our training, is what to do during your launch. I've noticed something almost always goes wrong in a launch. It's usually related to technology, not always, but links don't work, or there are problems with the merchant account. Just something usually happens, and so you kind of want to be prepared for that. And we will cover on that call what to do during your launch so that you have a peaceful and successful launch. And then we'll talk about on the last call is after your launch. So these are things like reopening your cart for a day or for a few days, how to best use your new launch list. You'll grow your list tremendously by having a launch, how to appreciate partners, and start planning your next launch. So the very last thing that I'll cover with you is ninja strategies. These are super effective strategies to make your launch even better. So let's get into the what, why, and how. So as far as the what, really what you're doing is you're announcing your product or program. It does not have to be a new program, by the way. The big players, they're always kind of relaunching, it seems like, the same flagship or proven program, and that's totally fine. So don't think that you have to come up with a new product or program every time you have a launch. You can relaunch the same thing. But if you are going to relaunch the same thing, ideally include some new and exciting features in there. If you can come up with something to add to it so it's even more valuable, that's really cool. I remember I was working with one of the big players, and he was promoting the second version of his program, and some people actually bought it again. They already owned the first version, but he had improved the second version so much and included so many new bonuses that people actually bought it a second time. So when you relaunch, make sure that you include some new and exciting features. And you can kind of think of your launch as like a grand opening. If you think of the a traditional brick and mortar grand opening, that's kind of what your launch is like. And there's all sorts of excitement and maybe prizes and giveaways and all sorts of cool stuff. So I like to think of a launch as a grand opening anyway. The why a launch is important? Well, it's endorsed traffic. The way to make sales is a combination of two things. It's trust and an irresistible offer. And so you're responsible for the irresistible offer, of course, but the trust, it can be hard to build the trust of people in just a day or a week or 2 weeks. And so what happens is with JV partners, they already have a relationship with their list, and there's a transfer of trust and rapport from their list over to you. So people come into your launch, if it's from JV traffic, they're coming into your launch already trusting you to a degree, and then of course it's up to you to maintain that trust and build it even deeper. So that's the reason for endorsed traffic. Another reason for having a launch, if you have multiple partners promoting you, is that people start hearing about your program from multiple sources. One example is maybe a friend tells you that you should go see a movie, right? And so you think, maybe I'll go see it. And then another friend tells you should go see that movie. And by the time 5 people have told you what a great movie this is, you're way more likely to go see that movie than maybe if just one person told you. And it's the same thing with a launch. It's social proof. It's all these list owners telling their lists, hey, you should go check out this person and their free content or their webinar or their product. And so, if somebody is on multiple lists, as I think we all are, we might hear about the same launch, the same offers from multiple people, which again increases social proof and causes people to consider, hey, maybe I should check this out. So the how of a launch, well, there are 2 main kinds of launches. There's an individual partner launch, and then there are traditional launches. So an individual partner launch is really launching your product or program one partner at a time. And this is actually my preferred way to do it. I've never had a huge launch with lots of partners all promoting me at the same time. I'd rather work one-on-one with a partner and really sort of customize that launch so that that partner does really well. And it's kind of like taking one bite out of an apple. A traditional launch is where all the partners are promoting you at the same time, or most of the partners are promoting you at the same time, and it's like eating the whole apple, right? It's like they're all promoting you at the same time, and there's some momentum there. It can be a really good thing to do. It's a lot to manage, and there are extra pieces, but most of the quote-unquote big players, they do traditional launches, and it brings in a ton of money. And so throughout this program, I'm really going to be covering traditional launches more than individual partner launches, but you can use a lot of the content in what we talk about today to, in either an individual partner launch or, what I'll be focusing on is traditional launches. If you are going to do an individual partner launch, I found that an automated webinar is perfect for this because you have a webinar that you can use over and over again, and partners can send their people to a version of your webinar. I would say that it's a lot more efficient to have this perfected presentation that each partner can share with their audience. But in a traditional launch, all your partners are mailing at the same time, so I find that a live webinar does a lot better because of the energy. And so usually in a traditional launch, you'll want to do, for example, a live webinar where the energy is higher. You can answer questions in real time, live on the calls. So anyway, I just want you to be aware of the 2 different kinds of launches, individual partner launch and traditional launch. So another part of the how is knowing what you'll sell. And what you want to do is you want to help your customers or clients get the results they want, right? That's pretty common sense. You want to scratch their biggest itch. And I say it's common sense, but I do talk to a lot of people who they want to give people peace of mind, for example. And maybe that's a good thing for people, but it doesn't really scratch the itch. You really want to ask yourself, what keeps my audience awake at night or worried during the day, and come up with a product or program that's really going to help them solve what they want. Maybe not what they need, and what they need can be inside the program, but the solution that they're buying should really appeal to their emotional want rather than perhaps their rational need. And another tip for knowing what you'll sell is try to get as close to actually doing the work for your clients as you can. In other words, I mean, one example is to actually just do it for them, right? So if you're teaching people how to create websites and you actually create their website for them, you've made it super easy. You've reduced the friction of actually going through and learning all this stuff and implementing. Most of us won't take it that far, but get as close as you can to doing it for them. An example, in my world anyway, business coaching, is I give away swipe copy. So swipe copy can really help people take my words and make them their own, but it gives them a really big head start on writing emails. Another example is support. Give people a way to get help from you. And this might be giving them one-on-one coaching, a welcome call, group Q&As, email support, phone support, chat support. So offering support can really help people get the results they want, and it helps make your offer irresistible. Another thing you can do is technical services. One of my programs teaches people how to create automated webinars, and one of the bonuses I offer is actually to set up their webinar for them. They give me their slides, they give me their audio, and I have my VA create their webinar, and then I install some automated webinar software on their site and configure it all for them. So I mean, that's an example of technical services and really doing most of the work for the client, or at least the challenging parts. So get as close to doing it for them as you can. Another thing to do in knowing what you'll sell is make the price a no-brainer for the value. So I have one program that teaches my laser coaching model, and coincidentally, the price of the program, at least the webinar sale price of the program, is the same price as if someone gets one new client. So the price becomes a no-brainer because if you get just one client from this, the program is paid for itself. And of course, the guarantee says if you do this and don't get any clients, you get your money back. So you want to try to make the price a no-brainer. Let's step out of my niche for a second. Let's say you're a divorce coach, and maybe you coach people so that they don't need to get divorced. Well, I mean, what does a divorce cost, right? It could cost hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, or even on the low end, thousands of dollars. And so if you can help a couple prevent divorce, if they really believe you can help them do that, that's going to save them so much money that your fees for doing that, whether it's a course or coaching or group coaching, your fees should easily be justified. So you want to make the price a no-brainer for the value. Okay, another part of the how is recruiting and motivating JV partners. I mean, this is what makes your launch successful, is having traffic into your launch. And yeah, you can run Facebook ads, and there are other ways to drive people into your quote-unquote launch, but really most launches are done with JV partners. And so what you want to do is you want to make it irresistible for them to promote you. And we'll talk about that later on in the call. Okay, another part of the how is building your list. One of the really great benefits of having a product launch or a program launch, whatever you want to call it, but having a launch is you'll build your list. And so partners will drive people to opt-in pages to get free content, and that will build your list. So when you come out of a launch, you will grow your list significantly. It's really great. And usually what you want to do is lead with free reports. And then on the thank you page where people get your report, usually you'll have a video to help people consume that report. And the whole goal of this is it builds trust with the referrals, right? They see they're getting all this great content from that JV partner, and it starts building trust. They say, wow, you really know what you're talking about. This is some great stuff. So building your list is a big part of launches. And of course, so is making sales. That's what everybody wants, right? And so, but really the key here is not to go for the sale until after you've given enough value. So you want to give value with free reports and videos and maybe a webinar, but you really want to give a lot of value, and then you go for the sale by explaining your irresistible offer. Another thing with launches and how is follow through. So hopefully, you've done a good job with your launch and you've got lots of customers. You'll definitely want to take care of them, follow through with them, but you'll also have a bunch of people who almost bought. And these are your hottest leads. They're the ones who went through all your materials and they did everything except for purchase. You want to make sure you follow up with them because you can make more sales that way. You also, from a follow-through standpoint, want to consider how to utilize your new quote-unquote warm list to sell something else. Right after a launch, your list is probably as hot as it's going to be, and they'll be ready to listen and pay attention to any other irresistible offers you can make them. All right, so that's the what, why, how. Let's move on to before your launch. And that's really today's topic. So we're going to get through as much as we can today. Maybe we'll make it through the entire part. I'm going to try not to just kind of talk like I'm talking now and just really give you pure content, but we may not make it all the way through. I just don't know. Let's find out. So what we're going to cover on today's call, at least today and maybe next week, but we'll cover launch dates, when you should have your launch. Normally a launch is 1 to 2 weeks, right? So yeah, it can be shorter. I've participated in a certain type of launch that was only 3 days. So, I mean, you can have a shorter launch, but normally a good time for a launch is 1 to 2 weeks. The longer it is, the harder it is for players to really play full out, for partners to play full out. So if it's a 1 week launch, that's a lot easier for people than a 4 week launch. So normally they're between 1 and 2 weeks. And usually what you do is in your launch, you'll learn more about this later, but there's something we call PLCs, which stands for pre-launch content. These are your free reports. And usually you'll have about 3 different free reports. And so you want to give partners, usually it's there's a 2-day window for the first PLC, for the first report. There's a 2-day window for the second PLC, and there's another 2-day window for the third PLC. So that's about 6 days of your partners sending people to get your free report. You'll usually want to have a webinar in your launch and probably a 2-day window for that. And then you'll open your cart. In other words, you'll make your program available and for sale. And usually a 5-day window is good for this. You can do it in 3 or 4. I've seen some people do it for like 2 or 3 weeks, and that's okay, but people start to lose interest. But I think 5 days is a good amount for cart open. So 2 days for each of your PLCs, each of your reports, 2 days for your webinar, meaning you might offer it multiple times over those 2 days, and 5 days for your cart open and close. In other words, while your cart is open. As far as the next bullet point here, it's getting clear on and testing your offer. You want to make this a no-brainer for anyone who trusts you and wants the results you offer. And I'd encourage you to keep that phrase in mind, no-brainer. I mean, if people trust you and they want what you've got, then your offer should be so compelling that it's an easy yes for them. And that includes things like having a guarantee, having the right price, promising the right results, and offering the right support. But you really want to make this a no-brainer for anyone who trusts you and wants the results you offer. So what you can do to really get clear on it and test your offer is try it out on some people. And an example of this is you could send your offer out to your list if you have a list, or maybe your contacts, but see if some people will go ahead and sign up for it. And maybe you even offer a significant discount to them to get them to say yes. Maybe you offer them a discount in exchange for saying yes and telling you why they bought. Get some feedback from them. You could also run some Facebook ads, and of course you'll spend money for that, but you're not paying JV commissions. So just keep in mind with Facebook ads, those leads are colder. They're not referred traffic like your JV traffic is, like your partners sending you traffic. But yeah, you could run some Facebook ads and see if you actually can sell this thing based on your offer. So you want to test it. And by the way, one benefit of emailing if you have an email list and you promote your offer or test your offer with your own list first, is that you keep all the commissions. So if Joe Smith is on your list, but Joe Smith is also on several of your partners' lists, if you launch your program to your list at the same time that all your partners do, maybe one of your partners makes the sale to Joe Smith and you miss out on that. So sometimes selling to your list a week or 2 or 3 ahead of your launch, you can keep all those commissions. And it's also a really good way to test your offer. Okay, you want to recruit and motivate partners before your launch, of course. So as I said before, you want to ask really early. Again, I mentioned Gina Gabellini. She asks a year in advance, and I think that's so smart. But it's easier for partners to say yes when it's way, way off in the future. You know, if you want to ask somebody a favor, it's not best to say, hey, can you help me right now? It's best to say, hey, could you help me 2 months from now or a year from now even? So ask early to maximize the number of yeses you get. I know you're in a hurry to make money with your launch, but yeah, asking early is the way to have a more successful launch. And when you're reaching out to partners, I would suggest you go for the easy yeses first. That way you're more likely to get some of the more difficult yeses later on, because you can provide social proof. You can say, oh, well, so-and-so is promoting me, or this person is promoting me, or I've got 5 people on board so far. So try to go for the easy yeses first. And again, if you ask early enough, those easy yeses should be slam dunks for you. If somebody sort of gives you some resistance to promoting you, find out what would motivate them to say yes, and then give it to them if you can. So somebody might say, well, you know, I just don't know if I want to promote this, or whatever the reason is, and overcome that objection. Say, well, hey, what if we did this? What if I bumped your commission from 40% to 50%? Or what if I emailed my new launch list with your offer right afterwards? So especially if you're going for a big partner, yeah, you really want to bend over backwards to just, you know, find out what would it take to get them to say yes. Some of them might simply want cash. Be open to these options, because if the right partners promote you, your launch can be incredibly successful. All right, pre-launch content. These are the reports I was mentioning earlier, the PLCs. So the goal of these PLCs is to build your list and build trust and credibility with your new leads. So, like internally in your business, you want to grow a huge list. And then with those people, so that they will buy from you, you want to build that trust and credibility. It's normally 3 reports, like I said before, PLC 1, 2, and 3, we call them. And usually these reports have videos below them or above them. Actually, it's usually above them, but they have videos above them explaining the report and really nurturing the visitor to the site. But you don't want to lead with the video. You don't want the opt-in to say, hey, opt in here for my 35-minute video. People will say, I don't have time to watch that. So instead, you say, opt in here for my quick and easy report. Then when they opt in, the video starts playing, and they can decide if they want to stay and watch or not. But you've got their name and email address now, so you can follow up. The reports should, of course, add lots and lots of value, give great material, and really build that trust and rapport. Another thing with your pre-launch content is plan to have an area below the video and below the report that has Facebook comments. These provide tremendous social proof and encourage people to leave a comment. Maybe even mention that in the videos. Say, hey, leave a comment below, or ask your biggest question below. Try to get those Facebook comments really buzzing and active. All right, so another piece of the launch is your webinar. So you want to plan your webinar before your launch. And the goal of the webinar is to teach and then sell on the webinar. So it's kind of like a hybrid. The PLCs, the goal is really to teach and give good content. And then when your sales page, for example, the goal is to sell. The webinar is kind of a hybrid of this. So the goal on a webinar is to teach and then sell on the webinar, and also to overcome objections doing a Q&A. So that's your webinar, and you'll want to plan that, and it should be extremely congruent with your offer. It should be extremely congruent with your PLCs, and most importantly, it should be extremely congruent with what you're going to sell. Another element of your launch is your sales page. So if you're doing like a webinar, you usually don't want to send people to a full-blown sales page. A summary page works well, and we'll take a look at both, a sales and summary page. But I would recommend a summary page for webinar people and a sales page for, I call them link clickers, but the people who are clicking a partner's link or even your link to consider if they want to buy the program. You want to make sure they have access to all the details about the program and all the elements that help them say yes. So drive email folks to a sales page, drive webinar folks to a summary page. That's my advice. You want to make sure that your sales page is easy to read and broken into sections with all the right elements on the page. And again, we'll take a look at a sales page later on in this section. In this module. All right, so you also want to have emails for your different audiences. You'll have 3 audiences in a product launch. You'll have emails that motivate your JV partners to promote you. So one audience are your JV partners. You'll have emails that your JV partners will send to their audience. So in other words, you'll write the emails that JV partners can use and redistribute out to their list. And then you'll have emails that you send to your own list. And you want to keep in mind that your own list will be growing throughout the launch. So some of your list may have been on your list for years, but others will have just joined you yesterday. You want to write emails to those people who have come into your world and are now on your list. So those are the three audiences: are your JV partners, the list of your JV partners, and your list. And then the last bullet point here is before you launch, you want to test, test, test. Almost every launch has something go wrong, and usually it's technical, but yeah, you really want to test every aspect of your launch. You want to be sure everything works smoothly before you get your first customer. All right, so let's move on to getting clear on and testing your offer. So I mentioned this before, but what generates sales is the combination of trust and an irresistible offer. Your launch partners provide the initial trust, and you build on that, of course, and you provide the irresistible offer. Okay, and sometimes your partners can provide an irresistible offer too, in the form of a bonus they give their list if their list uses their affiliate link. But you are responsible for providing the irresistible offer, and you are responsible for bringing in and welcoming these trusted referrals and deeply nurturing them. But initially, your launch partners provide the trust. So that's kind of the breakdown of who's responsible for what or who provides what. You want to make sure that your offer is a no-brainer for ideal prospects. I mentioned that before. Keep that phrase in mind. No-brainer, no-brainer, no-brainer. If your prospects trust you, they should easily say yes to your offer, even if they don't have the money. An extreme example might be a drug addict who always seems to find money for drugs, right? They don't have the money, or at least they don't believe they do, but they find a way. So I know that's an extreme example, but if people really, really want what you have, they will find a way to make it work. They might refinance their house. They might borrow money from family. Hopefully they can find even easier ways to come up with the money. Maybe PayPal credit is what they use. I don't know if you guys know about PayPal credit, but for U.S. citizens who qualify, people can borrow the money to buy your stuff. And I think they have 6 months with no interest and no payments to get that handled. After 6 months, I think maybe the interest even goes back to day one. So encourage people to pay this thing off within 6 months. But the point is that if people want what you have, they'll find a way. Okay. As far as what you're offering, most of the quote-unquote big players will launch info products, meaning courses or other kind of group programs. So yeah, most offer a course or a group coaching program, but it really can be anything. Ideally, it should be, though, a leveraged solution so that you're not just coaching a bunch of people one-on-one. That's not scalable, right? If you get 100 one-on-one clients, maybe you could manage that, but I think it would be really tough, especially if they all came in at one time. So yeah, you want to look for something that's a leveraged solution so that it's scalable. You can have lots and lots of customers and clients and be able to serve them. A book launch might be an example of something that's not a course or a group coaching program. So, with a book, you can have lots and lots of readers, and there's not a lot of your one-on-one time to support them. So, so think about what you're going to sell. Usually it's a course or a group coaching program. All right, bonuses. Bonuses really help people say yes, especially if they're on the fence. That bonus can put them over the edge. Bonuses essentially make it even easier for people to say yes. And sometimes people will buy your product or program just because of one of the bonuses. I have people tell me that. Actually, I'll often tell me that, though. They're like, yeah, the course sounds good, but I really bought it for this bonus. So make sure you have lots of good bonuses. And what you want to do is you want to give each bonus a real-world, believable value. So, for example, one of my offers, the total value listed on the page is $19,982. But in the webinar, in this case, I really go through to show them that each bonus has a very real value to it. And so your bonuses add tremendous value to the offer. So when people look at your product or program for $19.97 or for $9.97 or for $4.97, and they see they're getting $19,982 in value, then that makes it easy to rationally justify their emotional purchase. I'm going to say that again. You actually want to push two buttons when selling to people. You want to give them a rational reason, something they could explain to their spouse or to a friend or even to themselves that justifies their purchase. And having that total value in there can help with that. But you also want to appeal to their emotional side. That's what causes them to want to buy. And so you really want to push both buttons, the emotional and the logical. And the bonuses, they can actually push both buttons. People get excited about bonuses, but adding up the total value can also sort of help people justify that, hey, I'm getting a deal on this. Yeah, my wife recently signed up for an $8,000 program, and the list price of it is $12,000. And so, I mean, that the total value is $12,000. She's getting it for $8,000, and she feels like she's saving $4,000 on this thing. So, yeah, bonuses, they really add value, but so does the total value in this example is really helps people sort of rationally justify that, yeah, it makes sense to buy it now instead of later when it's $12,000, for example. You want to make sure your bonuses are congruent with the main purchase. So, you know, if you're selling something on, I'm just trying to pick something out of the air. Let's say lose weight, and then one of your bonuses is how to get coaching clients. That's not real congruent. But if you're selling a program on how to lose weight and one of your bonuses is some kind of, I don't know, a nutrition guide or something, you know, an exercise calculator for calories, or, you know, whatever it is, yeah, make sure your bonuses are congruent with the main purchase. Okay, pricing. So as far as pricing for your offer, again, we're looking for a no-brainer here. So you want to make sure it's congruent with results. In my case, when I sell my laser coaching program, you know, I let people know you make that back with your very first client. That's very congruent. The price they charge a client is equal to the price for my course. So, and by the way, a client can be worth a lot more than $997 in this case. You know, a client can be worth, you know, 12-month program or 12-month coaching agreement with you for $500 a month is worth $6,000. So if you're helping people get clients, sometimes it helps to show them what a client is really worth and then point out if they get just one client, the course has paid for itself. But let's say you're not in that niche of helping coaches get clients. Well, maybe you help people with their health, and, you know, what's living longer worth? What is that really worth to add an extra year to your life? Do you think somebody on their deathbed might give just about anything to live another year with the people they care about? I do. Yeah, so I mean, in many cases, somebody, if they really get it, they'll understand that living longer is worth a whole lot of money. Or what's a soulmate worth? If somebody is alone and sad or unhappy in their current relationship, I mean, how much is that worth to find that perfect person? And not only in terms of money, but in terms of time spent looking for that perfect person. So yeah, what you really need to do, bottom line, is connect the dots. Help your audience understand why the results that you help them get are easily worth 10 times the money or more that you charge. I will tell you that in a launch, the common prices are $497, $997, and $1,997. You can charge whatever you want, but these are proven prices that work really well, and they also leave enough margin to pay your customers something. If you sell something for the rock bottom price of $97 in a launch, a partner might make $50, and that's on the high end, right? And so, you know, maybe it's not really worth, you know, maybe they'd sell a lot of them and they would make a lot of money, but it's usually easier to sell a few higher price programs than a whole lot of lower price programs. So make sure your prices get you compensated for your time and energy, but also that they leave enough margin to make it worth it for your partners to promote you. Okay, I've seen some of the big players turn people down because the price point wasn't high enough. It's like, the money I earn from this is not going to be worth me promoting to my list. Okay, upsells and downsells. These are really cool, and you can use these in other contexts too, not just launches, but an example of an upsell would be what we call a one-click upsell. This is normally through a shopping cart, and these work really well. The way a one-click upsell works is somebody buys the product or program you're selling, they put in their credit card, and then they see a page that says, hey, if you wanted to add just this much more, you can have all this extra stuff. And they click the yes button, for example, and then the shopping cart just automatically adds that to their order or charges them an additional amount for their order. The reason these work so well is it's so easy for people to click yes that it makes it easy to buy, right? They don't have to enter in their credit card number. You're really reducing friction with a one-click upsell. And I've got a formula for how to do one-click upsells. First of all, I believe that they should be done on a video. So in other words, right after someone purchases your product or program, then there's a video of you thanking them for their purchase. And what you want to do in the video it's 3 parts to make this one-click upsell work. You want to help people feel good about what they just bought. So congratulations, you just invested in this amazing program that's going to help you get all these really good results. I've been working with people for this many years, credibility, but really what it is it's feel good, feel good, feel good. You want to really reinforce that decision and avoid buyer's remorse. So, good job, you're awesome, you're an action taker, you just got a really good deal on this, feel good, feel good, feel good. That's the first part of the video. The second part of the video is what to expect. You're helping them consume what they just bought. You can say, now, you've just been sent an email that gives you full instructions on how to access your program or how to contact me or when the group coaching calls are or whatever it is, but you tell them what to expect. And then the third part of the video is really what to do next. It's their next steps. And in this case, it's purchasing your quote-unquote one-click upsell. So especially if you've got something to offer that's really, really congruent and will help people get better and faster results, that makes for a really good one-click upsell. So that's when you can make your offer to say, now you just invested in this course, the perfect companion to that is this other thing. And I tell you what, if it's more expensive, what you can do sometimes is you can let them apply what they spent on the main product they bought, let them apply that money toward this bigger purchase. Maybe you've got a mastermind that's $12,000 a year, maybe and then they bought something for $997. Well, they can apply that $997 toward the $12,000 price tag. And maybe it's 11 payments of $997, and you kind of give them a break from that first month. You say, I tell you what, this mastermind is 12 payments of $997, but because you just bought this product, we'll apply that to your first month. So no charge on your card for the first month, and then starting at month 2, it's just $997 a month for the rest of the program. So that would be a good example of allowing people to apply what they just spent toward a higher priced program. So that's upsells. And then there are downsells. Downsells are what we offer people when they say no, but usually people don't just type the word no into a box, right? They usually just leave. And so what works really well here is what we call an exit intention pop. And so an exit intention pop it's a pop-up window that happens only when people are trying to leave the page. So as they move their mouse up to the top of the screen, then this page shows up. Now they can still close the screen, but the exit pop should get their attention and say, hey, wait, I don't want you to leave empty-handed, or don't miss on this excellent offer. And so having an exit intention pop can work really, really well. And the offer that I found works really well is offering people half off the purchase, but without the bonuses, to say, hey, if you want my program but you don't need the bonuses, you can get it for just half price. In fact, with my, at least in my automated webinars when I do this, 1/3 of my sales comes from these exit intention pops. And that's huge if you think about it. That's 50%, right? Because 1/3 works out to 50%. If you look at the normal sales, and 1/3 of my sales come from people who are going to leave and never ever come back, and they go ahead and grab the program for half price without the bonuses. So that works really well, especially for an automated webinar. Now, with a live launch where you've got lots of partners promoting you and you're doing, and you have a card open and sales pages and stuff like that, I still think it's a good idea to have the exit intention pop, but maybe save it for the last day. In other words, during your launch, people are going to keep going to your sales page and considering it. And if they see your exit intention pop too early, they might grab it for half price when maybe they really could have thought about it and grabbed the whole thing, including the bonuses. So that's another reason to make sure your bonuses are so valuable. But what I'm saying is if you're going to have like a multi-day launch or a multi-day cart open, really, yeah, maybe save that for the last day for that exit intention pop, for that downsell. And one extra, this really should go under ninja strategies, but if you do have someone purchase from your exit intention pop, let's say they buy your course for half price without the bonuses, you can then have a one-click upsell video that encourages them to go ahead and pay for the rest of this thing and get their bonuses. So that's kind of a ninja strategy to try to recover that full sale that you may have not gotten from from people who ordered from your exit intention pop. All right, those are upsells and downsells. Another important part of your offer is to have a guarantee. Guarantees help people feel safe and help them buy. And there are two types of guarantees that you'll want to consider. There's a conditional guarantee and an unconditional guarantee. You will make more sales with an unconditional guarantee. This says people can get their money back for any reason within 30 days, for example. However, the reason that most people, yeah, I think I can say most people, or let's just say a lot of people, the reason that a lot of people refund a program like yours is not because it's a bad program, it's because they've come into a situation in their life where they need money and they realize they're still within their 30-day window, and whatever that urgent need is in their life, to them that's more important than keeping your product. And maybe they've downloaded it and used it anyway. Usually not, though. At least over in the coaching world, most people are pretty honest. But an unconditional guarantee basically says, hey, within the next 30 days, you can pull your money right out of my bank account. And people will do this. So you'll make more sales, but you'll probably get more refunds. Now, a conditional guarantee says, hey, you actually have to do the work. And if you do the work and don't get the results, then I'll absolutely give you your money back. And that's fair, right? So people are making a decision on the spot to do the program with you, but then they have 30 days to implement it and make it work. And so, and maybe your program takes longer than 30 days. I would still try to have your conditional guarantee around 30 days, but it can be like if you go through the first 30 days of this program and you don't believe it's going to get you the results, then I'll give you your money back. So, but a conditional guarantee, you'll get a lot fewer refunds and make almost as many sales. And the reason I say that is because when people buy, at the time, your guarantee does not bother them because they fully believe, hey, I'm going to go through this program. Now, the sad truth is a lot of people who buy programs do not go through them. Maybe they never even open them up because it feels good to buy. It feels like we're doing something for ourselves. But to actually go through the program takes effort, time and energy, right? So, and you can do things to help people consume your program. We call these consumption techniques. One example is to have a quick start call with new customers so that they can get the most out of your program. Anyway, I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here, but I just want to let you know that I believe you should have a conditional guarantee so that the people who do refund are refunding for the right reasons. Okay, and another point about guarantees is this, on your sales page or on your webinar summary page is you want to put the guarantee near the order buttons. This is like when somebody's getting ready to click an order button, this is where they're hesitant, should I really go through with this? And that reassuring guarantee right by the order buttons helps them feel confident to move forward. All right, last bullet point on getting clear and testing your offer is actually testing your offer. So yeah, send it out to your contacts. Maybe consider running some Facebook ads. Keep in mind that's colder traffic. So your JV traffic, in other words, your launch partner traffic will most likely convert a lot better, but you might run some Facebook ads. You might even pick one JV partner to support you early. So let's say you reach out to a bunch of people and they say, well, sorry, I can't promote you because I'm committed to Gina Gabellini's launch. She asked me a year ago, or she asked me with more time or whatever. You might say, well, I tell you what, I'm looking for one partner to help me kind of do a test launch. And yeah, if you'd be willing to do that with me, we'll test out everything, and maybe I'll give you 75% commissions instead of 40% or something really irresistible. But it's a way for you to test your offer and see if it works. And if you can make that irresistible to the partner, yeah, maybe pick one JV partner to support you early, ideally someone who cannot support you during your launch window. All right, let's talk about how to recruit and motivate partners. So first of all, from the standpoint of partners, the more the merrier. You want to get as many partners as you can. And of course, some partners will be more powerful than other partners. So, set your sights on some big players if you can. But yeah, I mean, even if you have a lot of little players, quote unquote little players, I've seen little players outsell big players. And in fact, I've outsold some big players, pretty big names. And it's probably because I tried harder, like maybe they just gave it a little bit of an effort or something. But sometimes your quote unquote little partners will try a lot harder. So yeah, get as many partners as you can. I'm just saying that as far as your effort and time and energy go to inviting partners, make sure you don't forget the big fish, because they will likely carry your launch and make it successful. So the key to recruiting and motivating partners, yeah, you want to ask early, right? It's much easier to say yes in the future. And the good partners, the big players, they all have full schedules. I remember somebody asked me, hey, when can you promote me? And we were already into late July before I had an opening for this guy. And so, yeah, so you want to keep in mind that good partners have full schedules. And so the farther out you plan, the more likely they are to say yes. And also, they'll be impressed with your planning and organization. Like, I don't know if you're as impressed as I am, but when I know that Gina is already planning her launch for next year, a year in advance, I mean, that's really impressive. That means she is going to be super prepared and super ready to help her partners earn lots of commission. So yeah, your partners will be impressed if you ask early. Okay, another thing is to have a JV partner page. And so this is a place where your JV partners can go to either consider your offer, or if they've already said yes, just kind of get reminded. It gives them resources. So on your JV partner page, you'll want to have things like the offer you're making to their audience, promo materials so they can go through and look for emails and social media posts that they can use. Prizes are a big part of a traditional launch where you have lots of partners. Partners will compete for prizes, and sometimes those partners, they really want to win first prize, and they'll mail way more than they had intended to. You'll want to give them strategies to sell. Sometimes your partners can use some education or some ideas on how they can sell more. You'll want to give them a way to contact you. If they have questions on that JV page, you want to let them be able to reach out right away. You might even put your personal cell phone number on that page saying, hey, send me a text or give me a call if you've got questions. I would love to include you in this launch. And I'm going to show you an example, excuse me, an example of a partner page. So let's actually just go there right now. So I've been mentioning Gina. Well, here is Gina's partner page, right? The 5-star client formula for launch partners. And you can see these headings up here. She's got the offer, so you can read about her offer. She's got promo materials for partners, the prizes partners can win, her JV leaderboard secrets, which basically means the strategies to sell her stuff, and a way to contact her. So, I mean, that's an example right there of a good JV partner page. All right. So let's talk about commissions. Normally, most, at least in the big player world, most people pay about 40% commission. Sometimes it's 30, sometimes it's 50, but usually it's 40%. So 40% is a good number to consider, especially for a course, sometimes for a group coaching program. Sometimes, if the group coaching program is going to take a lot of your time to deliver, maybe 30% is more appropriate. But yeah, if you can do 40%, that's what partners are used to, at least the big players. You might even, pay 40%. For some partners, you might even pay more. So, if you get a really big partner on board, maybe you offer that partner 50% instead of 40%. I've seen that happen a lot. So yeah, I mean, you really want these partners to say yes, and if that's what it's going to take, then yeah, as long as all your math works behind the scenes, then go for it with 50%. Keep in mind, though, that you will probably give away prizes, whether that's money or gifts for your top performers. And we'll talk about prizes here in just a second, but you want to kind of budget that into the commissions that you're calculating, because you don't want to be upside down on your launch. You don't want to be negative. So 40%, that's what most people use and what seems to work well when all the numbers come out. But yeah, it's your launch. You can charge whatever or give whatever you like in commissions, but 40% is usually what's expected. I mentioned you can go higher for bigger partners and that you want to make sure there's enough margin because you don't want to come out negative on your launch. And I've seen that happen. I've seen people have a failed launch and they actually ended up paying out more money than they brought in, which is dangerous. So yeah, you want to make sure you don't come out negative. All right. So prizes. Yeah, this is one of the fun parts of a launch. I know one of my clients who is a quote unquote big player, we'd have coaching calls around doing her launch, and we spent the most time coming up with prizes to motivate partners. And so, that's the fun part of a launch, is coming up with prizes for saying yes, prizes for getting opt-ins, prizes for making sales. So usually you'll give out prizes for your top 10 partners. Sometimes it can be 20, sometimes it can be 3, but usually there are prizes for the top 10 partners in categories for opt-ins and categories for sales. But sometimes it might be the top 3 for opt-ins, meaning for the leads they sent you, and maybe it's top 10 for sales or top 5 for sales. Really depends on kind of the size of your launch and the number of partners you have. I'm going to give you guys some ideas for where to go to find prize ideas. Let me save the most fun one for last. So again, if I didn't say this clearly enough, usually you'll have prizes for people opting in. So when a partner sends you 300 leads, maybe you have an opt-in prize. Anyone who sends 300 leads gets this. And sales prizes, anyone who makes 10 sales gets that. Or anyone who's first place, who sells the most, gets this or that. So a few places you can go to look. You can kind of go 3 different routes, or at least 3 that I've identified. One is the innovative route, meaning give away clever gifts that people say, wow, I didn't even know that existed. So that's pretty cool. Another way is to go classy. Giving away Apple products is oftentimes used. So giving away an iPhone or an iPad or an Apple Watch or something like that. Apple is just kind of it's considered anyway among the partners. It's a classy gift. A third way after innovative and classy is something with a high perceived value that actually doesn't cost much money. So I'll just say, I'll cover these in reverse order so I can show you the cool site in just a second. But as far as high perceived value, I'll just give you an example. One of my clients was looking for something she could give away as prizes, and I don't know if you know this or not, but out on Amazon, they've got their Kindles, right? And I think it was the Kindle Fire, and they were only $50. I mean, people, when they think of a tablet, and especially a tablet that can connect to the internet and play Spotify and has all these apps and also can let you read your ebooks, $50. I mean, that most people think of it as being a lot more expensive than that. So we promoted the Kindle Fire and put a picture of it on the JV partner page, and I mean, it had a really high perceived value, but it really didn't cost that much. So that's one strategy, and I would suggest going to Amazon to look for items like that. You don't have to purchase Amazon's brand name products like the Kindle Fire, but that can be a good place to look for prizes that have a high perceived value, but really don't cost that much. Another example is a different partner was giving away hot tubs. I mean, the perceived value of a hot tub is thousands and thousands of dollars. The reality is we found I think it was $450 inflatable hot tub that totally works. And by the way, I have one at home and love it. But yeah, it has a high perceived value of getting a hot tub, but it doesn't cost that much money. So we found that on Amazon as well. Okay, so that's an example there. An example for classy might be to go to apple.com. I'm sure you can get lots of cool ideas. A lot of people give away the MacBooks or MacBook Airs or PowerBooks or whatever they call them. I'm not up to date on my Apple stuff, but I see a lot of partners giving away Apple things, and yeah, it's kind of a classy gift. You could also, one of my clients was looking at giving away a Rolex watch. So I mean, that's an example of a classy gift that you could shop around for. So there's that. Okay, now the innovative stuff, the stuff that's really cool, there's a website called DudeIWantThat.com. Let me just show it to you. It's called DudeIWantThat.com. Let me close a couple of these windows here, a couple of these tabs here. Yeah, dudeiwantthat.com. And so, by the way, I haven't looked at this before today's call, but sometimes the prizes they have may not be suitable for children. But yeah, I'll just tell you an example of something we found on here were some boots that let you jump really high. They had these kind of I don't know, it was like a bent piece of metal below the boots, and you could actually jump really high with these. And the person running the launch used the idea that you could jump for joy for being in the top 10, for example, or whatever it was. So dudeiwantthat.com has all sorts of categories of gifts, and there's an OMG category. But yeah, really cool site if you're looking for unique ideas for people to give away as prizes for your opt-ins or for sales prizes. All right, let's move on to talking about thank you gift. I think I left. Oh, okay. Yeah. So nope, we're not going to talk about thank you gift yet. Actually, I should talk about it now. I will. So the bullet points are out of order. So a thank you gift, it's another example of a prize, but it's something that everybody gets who says yes to your launch, or you can be selective about who you give them to. But when someone says yes, partners lately have started sending out appreciation gifts. So I'll give you an example. I'm promoting someone right now, as a matter of fact, and she sent me a lavalier microphone that I can use on my phone or my computer. So I don't have one of those. It was a really cool and thoughtful gift. Now what's interesting is before she sent it out to me, she had her JV manager reach out and say, hey Rob, what kind of gift would you like to get? And I forget the three options. One of them was technology. That's the one I chose. But I think another one was like, something with health and beauty, or something that just didn't appeal to me as much as technology. And yeah, same with the third category. And so I said, well, of the three, I'd love a technology gift. And I didn't know what it was, but in the mail, this lavalier microphone showed up. So, so a thank you gift, it really shows appreciation for your partners, but also on kind of the more subtle side is it really triggers reciprocity so that those partners follow through. Like right now, I am staring at the lavalier microphone that this partner sent me, and it subtly encourages me that, hey, Rob, you committed to promote this person. And I do so willingly and happily, but yeah, that thank you gift can really help motivate people to keep their word, I guess is a way of saying it. So it shows appreciation, but it also kind of triggers people to do what they said they were going to do. All right, let's jump back up to reciprocals. This can be a motivator for some JV partners to say yes. And in fact, one kind of big player, pretty big player actually, reached out to me and said, hey, would you promote me? I said, yeah, I'd be willing to promote you if you feel like you could also send out an email to your audience for me. And they're so much bigger than I am that I just asked for one email. But they said, let me get back to you. Let's see. And yeah, the answer was a yes. And so in this case, I was the partner who asked for the reciprocal, but you can be proactive and talk to a potential partner who says, well, I don't know, I'm kind of on the fence. You can say, well, what if I were to promote you? And especially right after the launch. Right after the launch, your list is as warm as possible. If possible, you want to promote your own stuff to your list after your launch, but if the partner's big enough, maybe you would offer to promote that partner to your fresh, warm launch list. So, so reciprocals can be a motivator for some partners to mail for you. Just be careful not to overcommit. If you tell every single person who participates in your launch that you'll promote them, yeah, you may find yourself with no room to promote your own stuff or to promote new partners that come into your world. Okay, let's talk about social proof. So when you're recruiting and motivating partners, social proof is important. In other words, if you can already get some people on board, your easy yeses, then when you reach out to the people who are not so easy, then letting them know, hey, this person's on board, that person's on board, this person's on board, it helps them sort of say, okay, well, if those people said yes, then it's probably good, and I can say yes without thinking about it too much. So yeah, so you want to, if you can, get those easy yeses first so you can tell other JV prospects who's on board. All right. Mailing dates, we talked earlier about a 1 to 2 week launch is probably a good amount of time, and you want to get commitment from partners ahead of time so you can put them in your calendar. And really in my notes here I have I have that last part in quotes, put them in your calendar. You want to give partners a reason why they're telling you when they're going to promote. And, it's so that you can make sure that they're serious about this and they've got it on their schedule and they're not going to forget about you, right? So try to get commitment dates from your partners ahead of time. You can give them the reason that it's so you can put them in their calendar. I know some big players will actually give out a thank you gift when you send them your dates because they really want that, on each partner's calendar. Okay, and then another thing to consider is you may give out prizes for JV partners who mail for each phase of your launch. I've had partners give me a prize for mailing out for all 3 of their PLCs, all 3 of their reports, for mailing out for their webinar and then mailing out once or twice while their cart was open. And they say, hey, if you mail these 5 times or whatever it is, we'll bump your commissions up 10%. For example. So you may consider giving prizes for people who mail all 5, 6, 7 times. All right, last part of this slide, and by the way, we've got about a half an hour left on this call, so I don't think we're going to get through everything because I want to give you guys a chance to ask questions and give me your takeaways. So we got about 15 minutes left of content, and I'd love to know your biggest takeaways from the call so far and answer your questions, and then we'll just continue in our second call. But for this last bullet point, you want to encourage partners to offer bonuses. And there's a phrase that's thrown around in a lot of launches called Battle of the Bonuses. And it's fun. I've played this too. Sometimes a bunch of us will be promoting the same person, and that person is now saying, whose bonus do I want? Do I want Rob's bonus or do I want Sally's bonus? And so you want to encourage partners to have big bonuses, not only because they can make more sales by sort of bringing the undecideds over into their court, but also their own list will love their bonuses. Partner bonuses are super congruent. If I offer bonuses to my audience to buy someone else's course, the bonuses I offer, I mean, the people that are on my list probably like my stuff, and it should help them, be an easy yes. In fact, sometimes, this just happened today. I was reading an email and someone said, hey, I just bought this person's program because I wanted your bonus. And they told me basically that they wanted my bonus more than the program. In fact, this person said, I was thinking of buying one of the things that's in your bonus. And so I decided to go ahead and get this course so I could get yours for free, right? So encourage your partners to give bonuses. All right, let's see if we can get through one more slide here before we take it over to takeaways and Q&As. Let's talk about pre-launch content. So pre-launch content, these are your free reports. These are your PLCs. And so, the goal of the PLCs is to collect leads and warm up your audience so that they're ready to buy. So I mentioned this before. This is a great way to grow your list. If you do a launch right, you'll grow your list by thousands or tens of thousands by having lots and lots of people send people into your world. And they could send them straight to your webinar. And in fact, in some like individual partner launches, I'll just ask a partner to send their people right to my webinar. But it does not grow my list as fast. But in a big coordinated traditional launch, you'll probably want your launch people to send their audience, your launch partners to send their audience to your PLCs so that you can grow your list. It also gives you a window to build trust and credibility with your PLCs, with your reports and your videos and the Facebook comments. All right. So you want to make sure that your PLCs, your pre-launch content, your free reports are congruent with what you're selling. So ideally what they'll do is they'll build desire for what you'll ultimately be selling. And you don't have to, in fact, you probably shouldn't tell people yet what you're selling, but you want your reports and your videos to build that desire for people to want what you will be selling. And another thing you can do is help your audience get prepared for success with the program you're selling. So maybe give them a free report that actually takes them a step closer to the success that they'll get with your program. So make sure that your PLCs are congruent with what you're selling. And I mentioned this before, but usually pre-launch content, it's PDF reports and videos. And I mentioned this also before, that the PDF is usually, that's what's on the opt-in page. That's the offer is, hey, opt in for my free report. Because it's easy to consume and it provides a complete thought or solution. that a report is usually the easiest way to get somebody onto your list. The video, on the other hand, does a really good job of building trust, and it can help people consume the report, but you don't want to lead with the video, in my opinion, because a video does take a while to consume. It's not easy to consume from a time standpoint. So have the video on the thank you page, but have people simply opt in for the report. That's my advice. Okay, let's say that you have 3 PLCs, 3 free reports. You'll want to use a unique opt-in page for each report. I've seen people do this where it was just one opt-in page, one opt-in page, or one opt-in URL, let's say, and they always change the offer and change the thank you page throughout the launch. Well, first of all, the timing on that can be really bad, because if something goes wrong and you don't get the right page up in time, that can mess things up. If partners are promoting PLC2 and you haven't upgraded your pages to PLC2 yet, they're still on PLC1, then their audience arrives and lo and behold, it's not what they were told they were going to get. Same thing in reverse order. If you have your PLC2 done on time, but a partner has emailed their list maybe the day before about PLC1, so their list is looking at maybe a quote-unquote old email, they click the link and now they're looking at stuff for PLC2. It doesn't make sense. So have a different URL and a different opt-in page for each PLC, for each pre-launch content. You could have one thank you page that just makes sure that the active part, the active PLC is live. You'll see an example of this at the very end, and it might make more sense. But yeah, definitely have a unique opt-in page for each PLC. And by the way, when you have, let's say you have 3 different PLCs, people might have to put in their name and email to opt in for each one of these. However, that's better than having something go horribly wrong. One of my clients, we set up an opt-in page, and let's say we set up an opt-in page for PLC1. Well, when people opted in for PLC1, we put a cookie on their machine. And so then when they opted in for PLC2, it bypassed the opt-in page and took them right to the thank you page because they had already opted in. And that's okay, but cookies can cause problems, and sometimes computers don't accept cookies, and I think we got some people complaining they couldn't get to the stuff. And also, what did I want to say about that? Is that, hold on, this is important. Yeah, by bypassing to the thank you page, it's escaping me right now. Let me just see if I can get to it. By if they opt in for PLC2 and they've already opted in, oh yeah, I know what it was. You cannot track those opt-ins. You don't know how many people wanted PLC2. So if you look at your opt-ins for PLC1 and then you look at your opt-ins for PLC2, if you do that cookie thing I was talking about, you won't know who actually went to go get PLC2 if they had already opted in for PLC1. That's what I was trying to remember. So usually it's best to have people put in their name and email each time to opt in for your gift. But for example, if you use Lead Pages and some other solutions to create your opt-in pages, they will actually pre-fill in the name and email address of the people they can. So Lead Pages will actually cookie people, and if it recognizes a repeat visitor, it'll go ahead and fill out their name and email address and just have them click the button to get the free report. So you can reduce friction a little bit that way by using a solution like Lead Pages for your opt-in pages for your PLCs. All right, so let's talk about, we're still talking about PDFs and videos. We're down to unlocking your content. Here we go. Sorry about that. So unlocking your content. So, usually you'll release PLC1 on a couple of dates, and then you'll release PLC2 on a couple of dates, and you'll release PLC3 on a couple of dates. Well, a good header will show what's coming and what's live, and it'll give people access to what's been released. So people can always go back and get PLC1 even if they just opted in for PLC2. But if PLC2 is what's live right now, they will not be able to get to PLC3. It might say coming soon, or it might say what the PLC is and that it's coming soon. So again, I'll show you an example here in just a moment. All right. Take a sip of my drink here. So Facebook comments. Facebook comments, those are excellent at the bottom of a PLC page. So the Facebook comments, they provide lots of social proof, and people saying this is awesome, and people asking questions, and you responding to people. So yeah, having Facebook comments below your report and below your video, yeah, the bottom line is it provides social proof. It's a really good thing to have. Another thing that a lot of people do not do, but in my opinion should consider doing, is have a tell a friend script in here. So maybe on the PLC page it says, hey, if you're excited about what's going on here and you want to tell some friends about it, we'd like to thank you with a gift. If you send 3 people to our opt-in page for PLC2, for example, we will send you this free gift. So offering people a gift after, for example, 3 referrals can be a really great way to get more leads while your prospects are hot for being able to tell their friends about you. So one solution that's out there that I've used before is Tell a Friend Pro. Tell a Friend Pro. Sometimes it's called TAF Pro. Tell a Friend Pro. And that might be a good solution. It is kind of technical to set up, but I think if you pay them a little bit more money, they'll set it up for you. It's not a beautiful solution, but it works pretty well. And maybe there are others out there that I'm just not aware of, but the Tell a Friend can really be a way to exponentially grow your opt-ins. Okay, let's take a look at an example of a PLC, pre-launch content page. Okay, so this is Michelle Chibnall's PLC page. So you can see up at the top, she's got the video 1, video 2, video 3, and video 4. So her launch, her card is open right now, so all these things have been released. But when she first gave away her first PLC, only this video 1 page was released. So I'm going to go there now. Okay. Hello. It opened in a new tab, which I think that's kind of smart, because if I close this, then the other one's still open. But yeah, so here's where you can get your lucrative and leveraged coaching business. So here's the report, right? Yeah, right here. Oh, the group coaching revenue, success revenue calculator. I think I programmed that. Yeah, I did. I made that for Michelle. Cool. I didn't know she was using it. But anyway, yeah. So here's the PDF, and then above it is the video, and then down below are the Facebook comments, right? So yeah. So this is a great thing. Now, if video 1 was the only thing that was live, PLC 1, then you would see these others grayed out, and they would not be clickable. You cannot move forward in this. But if I close this window and go back to the previous one, you'll see all of the videos are unlocked because her card is open now. And by the way, video 4 actually goes to her sales page. So it's not a PDF and a video. So anyway, I wanted you guys to see an example of a real effective PLC model where each one of these is its own pages, but the headers are live or deactivated depending on where people are, what's live in the launch. So if video 3 is live, you'll get access to videos 1 and 2 as well, but not video 4. By the way, this is a Lead Pages template. Lead Pages makes it really easy to have these PLC pages. And I try to mention this from time to time, but if you don't have Lead Pages and you'd like to sign up for it, let me know, because if you use my link, I'll help you set it up, whether it's helping you set it up for your launch or just using it for another reason. I love Lead Pages, and I am an affiliate for them, and I'd be happy to help you set up your Lead Pages account if you don't mind using my affiliate link. Okay, so tell you what, let me just see what we've got here before we go to the Q&A. So there's the webinar. Yeah, I tell you what I want to do, let me just check in with you guys. If you have lots of questions, let me answer those. If you don't, then yeah, I'll teach maybe one more slide before we wrap up. So in the Q&A box, if you would, I'd love if you type in your takeaways from today's call, the things you got from today's call. What this does is this reinforces in your mind what was important, but it also lets other people on the call know what you thought was important. Maybe they missed that. And it also tells me what you guys value. So we do have people on the call. If you can click that Q&A box or Q&A button in Zoom and share with me what you found most valuable on today's call so far, I'd really love to know. So let me give you guys just a second to share that. And again, if we get through the Q&A and takeaways quickly, then yeah, I'll teach one more slide for you. So let me just remind you what we've covered so far so that you can share with me your takeaways. So we covered, yeah, the what, why, and how of launches. Just leave that up there for a second. Hoping you guys are typing in. I see somebody did. Let me just go through the rest of these. Before your launch, we covered some of the details here. Oh, good. Several. Oh, nice. Oh, a lot of you are typing. Cool. So getting clear on your offer and testing your offer, recruiting and motivating JV partners, and then pre-launch content. So that's what we've covered so far. This is great. I've got, so 6 of you have submitted stuff. So this is awesome. Thank you. Brenda says, this helps me understand the process so I can have a more successful launch. Awesome, Brenda. Thank you. Summer says, the takeaway was JV motivation and timing. Thank you, Summer. Rob says, asking JV partners a year in advance. Never thought about asking so far out. Oh, good. I'm glad you like that. Carol Ann says, love what you shared about JV partners and also how PLC works. Awesome. This lets me know that you guys want what I'm teaching and that I'm sharing some of the right stuff. So thank you. Elizabeth says, creating a relationship with the potential partners and incentives was very valuable. Thank you, Elizabeth. And Catherine says, all JV tips. This is all new to me. So thank you guys. I really, really appreciate that. Again, not only does that help me, but it helps other people on the call, and it helps you sort of solidify and reinforce the things that are most important to you. So let's go to Q&As. If you have questions about what I've covered so far, I'd love to answer them. You have a few more takeaways, so thank you. Catherine says incentives and downsells. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, those are both 2 really powerful things. When you can give people an incentive to promote you, that's huge because then they will. And the downsells is great. Like I said, 1/3 of my orders, at least from the automated webinar, is from a downsell. So it's really powerful. Okay, so S says clearing the process. Okay, so maybe making the process clear. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad I made it clear for you. Okay, Dominique says having the summary page versus a sales page after a webinar, that was helpful for my own webinars. Yeah, awesome. And by the way, I'll share with you guys a little extra tip here is that if you're going to have a webinar and as well as drive people to a sales page, on your sales page, you can have a summary section on the sales page, and you can use something in HTML. It's called an anchor, but you can actually have people go to your URL and scroll down to the summary part of your sales page. Some people do that after a webinar so people can see the summary in order, but if they want to read more about your offer, they can scroll up and down on the sales page. So thank you, Dominique. Lynn says, glad to know you can help with lead pages. Awesome, Lynn. Yeah, just let me know and I'll send you my affiliate link. And okay, so now we're getting to our questions. So Dominique says, can you show an example of a summary page versus a sales page after a webinar? Haha, absolutely. You and I are on the same page, Dominique. That's actually, I'm going to cover that in the next call, but just to show you that I am prepared for that, let me just move over to your webinar. So I've got an example of a summary page right here, and I'll go through that. This is a webinar summary page. And I've also, on the next slide, got an example of a sales page right here. So yeah, on the next call, we're going to go through an example of a summary page as well as a full-blown sales page, which is right here. So yes, absolutely, we will cover those on the next calls. So yeah, so your question is right on the mark as far as what we're going to be doing on the next call. Okay, let me see if I can answer some other questions. Yes, so Rob says, if people have to opt in for each PLC, how do you prevent duplicating names on your list? Well, yeah, most autoresponder systems, you probably, if you have multiple lists, you probably have some people on the same list anyway. But when you send a broadcast out to your list, almost every autoresponder and shopping cart will never email the same person twice. So it's okay to have duplicate names on your list. In fact, it gives you a more complete picture of what happened. So maybe 300 people opted in for PLC 1 and 400 people opted in for PLC 2. And if maybe 200 of those people are on both lists, that's okay, because then hey, PLC 2 was a bigger hit, or more partners promoted PLC 2, or something caused PLC 2 to be more successful. So it's totally okay to have duplicate names on your list. And if you want to get fancy about it, you can set rules in some autoresponders and shopping carts that say, hey, if the person is already on the PLC 1 list and they opt into PLC 2, then remove them from PLC 1. You can do that, but I do not recommend it because I like looking at the stats for each PLC. Dominique says, do you have examples of JV swipe files for promotion as well? Not that I've prepared. However, let me give that some thought. Maybe that's something I'll add to the second call. Yeah, let me give some thought to that, or maybe I can go through and find some examples of other people who have done these traditional launches that can give some swipe. I do have swipe files for my automated webinar that I give to partners, and those work really well. So please remind me on the next call if I don't remember, but I think I will, to give you guys some swipe files. All right. So Lynn says, need a moment with the last two slides, your webinar and sales page. Yeah, so Lynn, we haven't really covered those yet, so no problem. We're going to cover those on the next call. And also, I'm going to send out a replay of today's call for those of you on the call, and you'll get access to all the slides. So you'll be able to study those as much as you like. And then Rob says, thanks, Rob. So yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you. Oh, and Lynn says thanks also. Yeah, thanks for being so appreciative. I appreciate your appreciation. So yeah, I tell you what, I'll go ahead and move over to the webinar slide. I hesitate to get too deep into this, but I'll just give you I'm just, without referring to my notes or anything, let me just give you an overview of each of these bullets, and that way, you know what, let's do it. Let's go for it. We might go a little bit over on this call. I'm going to try not to, but let's talk about your webinar. Okay, so your webinar. So usually when people do, especially a live webinar in a traditional launch, it's right before the cart opens. And I think I mentioned this before, but your webinar is kind of a hybrid between your PLCs and your sales page. Your PLCs are pure content. You're just giving away information. And your sales page is pure selling. So, you know, you're not giving a lot of value to people on the sales page. You're making your offer. And so the webinar is a hybrid of the two. You share content on the first part of the webinar, and then you make your offer on the second part. So it's kind of a bridge between your PLCs and your selling. And also it gives you a chance to make sales before your cart opens. The webinar builds trust and rapport because people can hear you speak or maybe see you on video, and they can also ask questions and hear live answers. Like on an automated webinar, what I will do is I will answer frequently asked questions, but I don't take live questions because I'm not there. It's automated. But on a live webinar at the end, you can allow people to ask questions. So as far as live versus automated, yeah. So for traditional launches, live is best. There's more energy. Yes, you won't be perfect probably, and that's okay. People like to see that you're human. But the energy on a live webinar usually converts better than the energy on an automated webinar. However, an automated webinar is good for partner launches because it's more efficient. If you've got 13 people promoting you 13 different times, you may not want to lead 13 live webinars or 26 live webinars if you do 2 webinars. So automated is good if you're doing individual partner launches, but you can do live if you want. It's totally up to you. Okay. Now for live webinars, you want to make sure that that you have the capacity for them. This is one of the troubleshooting spots to avoid. Some webinar systems only give you 100 seats, and you actually have to upgrade to get 500 seats or 1,000 seats. And so, so you may want to increase your live webinar subscription plan to make sure you can handle all the people coming to your webinar from a launch. I've been with some of these big partners who they underestimate how many people will be on the webinar, and people cannot get on. And so make sure that you have the capacity to handle a lot of people on your live webinar. As far as the software for live webinars, personally, I would use Zoom Webinar. Now, I'm not sure what their capacity is, but I really like Zoom Webinar. That's what we're using right now on this call. So that would be my first thing to check out and make sure it could handle the capacity. GoToWebinar is kind of the I don't want to say the standard, but it's like the high-end solution. So most of the big players use GoToWebinar. It's more expensive than the other solutions, but handles lots and lots of people, and the quality is excellent. It really works well. Another thing you can use is Instant Teleseminar. Instant Teleseminar, most people think of that as being just phone calls only, but they will let you show slides. So you cannot appear on live video like you can with Zoom or I think GoToWebinar, but Instant Teleseminar will let people call in and watch their screen as you present slides to them, and that might be the most affordable solution. Okay, so as far as automated webinars, the software I'd recommend EverWebinar is my favorite. And by the way, I'm affiliates for almost all this stuff. So if you decide to sign up for something, let me know. I'll send you my link and then try to add value by helping you set up whatever you purchase. But yeah, I am an affiliate for EverWebinar. That's the one that I use in my automated webinars. I think it's the best. Another great one is Stealth Seminar. They're real good because if you have problems with technology, Stealth Seminar essentially, I think they have you fill out a Microsoft Word document and then they set everything up for you. So that's nice if you want somebody else to set it up for you. And then another good one is Easy Webinar. Doesn't have quite as many bells and whistles as EverWebinar or Stealth Seminar, but yeah, it's another good, reliable automated webinar software. All right, let's see if we can do this. Let's talk about the length of your webinar. For a live webinar, I recommend 1 hour of content and pitch, so 1 hour total to share great content and make your offer, and then extra time for questions and answers. So let people budget about an hour to hear you talk and hear your offer, but encourage them to stay on and ask questions at the end. Some will be able to stay on, some won't, but at least you'll have your pitch out there. For an automated webinar, I recommend 26 minutes or as close to that as you can get. If you can promise people a half an hour for an automated webinar, they love that. And yeah, I've proven you can absolutely do this. My automated webinars are 26 minutes and gives plenty of time to teach. Excuse me, and plenty of time to make the offer. So yeah, and by the way, if you want my script of one of my automated webinars, just let me know and I'll send that to you so you can see what a 26-minute automated webinar looks like. But that's for the length of the webinar. The times and days, so for live webinars, I'd say it's when your audience is most available and most responsive. So if you don't know that, you can take some guesses. Perhaps 2 or 3 different dates and times to choose from. Maybe you offer it on a Saturday morning, a Saturday afternoon, and a Sunday morning, or maybe Saturday morning and a Saturday afternoon and a Sunday afternoon, something like that. So, so yeah, 2 or 3 days or times to choose from for a live webinar. And as far as offering a replay, it's probably better not to offer a replay of your live webinar, at least not to tell people there's going to be one. You really want them to try to show up live and catch that energy. If you're going to have a replay of your webinar, maybe a good place for that is on your sales page. Later on, when you open your cart, people can watch the webinar. The sales page we're going to look at next time actually does offer a replay of the webinar on the sales page, and I think that's really smart. With automated, people can choose their own date and time, or they can watch the webinar replay right away. And I'll tell you what, I would say my automated webinar attendance rates are usually right around 90%. Sometimes it's 88 or 89%, which is really, really high. But what I've noticed is that most people who watch my automated webinars watch the quote-unquote yesterday's replay right away. Most people, they want to see the replay right away. So for automated, you can let people choose the dates and times they want, but also give them the option to watch the replay right away. All right? So content on your webinar. What you want to do is you want to give your best content yet, other than your product. Make this content even better than your PLCs. Scratch the biggest itch of your audience without, giving away your complete and entire product. But yeah, you really want this to be your best content, because this is going to be the point where you're asking people to buy on the webinar. Ideally, your webinar should be a complete thought or solution, just like your PLCs should. And what you want to do is you want to transition from your content into your offer or into your pitch. And the way that I do it is I give a reason. So I might say, people have been begging me lately to create a course on how to do this, and so I created one. So give people a reason why you're selling something. In fact, some of you have heard of Jeff Walker. He's known for the product launch formula. So he's kind of the master of all these product launches. And I was listening to one of his trainings once, and he said that the reason why is the most important factor in your launch or in your selling or something. I just remember he zoomed in on the reason why, and I agree. So when you're teaching a webinar and then you go to start selling, you need to give people a reason why you're selling. So maybe it's that people have been asking you, or you want to serve more people, but make sure you give a reason why. Okay. As far as the offer, yeah, so what you can do is give a list price of your product or program, higher than what people will pay ideally. And then list your bonuses and list the value of everything they're going to get, and then list that total value. You remember that 19,000 whatever I mentioned earlier? That's the total value, and then reveal the webinar price. So by contrast, your webinar price seems extremely low compared to the to what people will pay for your webinar offer. All right. So as far as the summary page goes, gosh, I think that's going to take a little longer, and we are at time. So I tell you what, we're going to pick up right on this last bullet point on our next call. I do see, Carol Ann says, I'd love your script for an automated webinar. Yeah, Carol Ann, just please email me. You can reply to any email I send you and just ask me for the script. I'll know what you mean. Happy to do that. But we're going to go ahead and wrap up now so that we wrap up on time. And I will cover an example of the summary page and go through an effective summary page with you on our next call. So thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. And yeah, let's go ahead and wrap up for now, and I will talk with you guys on our next call. So thank you, everybody. Talk soon. Bye.